Chapter 8, Conclusion 8.5. This chapter presented several ways to model nonlinear regression functions. Because these models are variants of the multiple regression model, the unknown coefficients can be estimated by ordinary least squares, and hypotheses about their values can be tested using T and F statistics as described in Chapter 7. In these models, the expected effect on big Y of a change in one of the independent variables, big X sub 1, holding the other independent variables, big X sub 2 through big X sub k, constant, in general, depends on the values of big X sub 1, big X sub 2 through big X sub k. There are many different models in this chapter, and you could not be blamed for being a bit bewildered about which to use in a given application. How should you analyze possible non-linearities in practice? Section 8.1 laid out a general approach for such an analysis, but this approach requires you to make decisions and exercise judgment along the way. It would be convenient if there were a single recipe you could follow that would always work in every application. But in practice, data analysis is rarely that simple. The single most important step in specifying nonlinear regression functions is to use your head. Before you look at the data, can you think of a reason based on economic theory or expert judgment why the slope of a population regression function might depend on the value of that or another independent variable? If so, what sort of dependence might you expect? And most important, which nonlinearities, if any, could have major implications for the substantive issues addressed by your study? Answering these questions carefully will focus your analysis. In the test score application, for example, such reasoning led us to investigate whether hiring more teachers might have a greater effect in districts with a large percentage of students still learning English. Perhaps because those students would differentially benefit from more personal attention by making the question precise. We were able to find a precise answer after controlling for the economic background of the students. The estimated effect of reducing class size effectively does not depend on whether there are many or few English learners in the class. Summary. Number 1. In a nonlinear regression, the slope of the population regression function depends on the value of one or more of the independent variables. Number 2. The effect on big Y of a change in the independent variable or variables can be computed by evaluating the regression function at two values of the independent variable or variables. The procedure is summarized in Key Concept 8.1. Number 3. A polynomial regression includes powers of big X as regressors. A quadratic regression includes big X and big X squared. And a cubic regression includes big X squared, and big X cubed. Number 4. Small changes in logarithms can be interpreted as proportional or percentage changes in a variable. Regressions involving logarithms are used to estimate proportional changes and elasticities. Number 5. The product of two variables is called an interaction term. When interaction terms are included as regressors, they allow the regression slope of one variable to depend on the value of another variable.